Disk space.
And we're live. Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome to Disk Space.
How's everyone doing? I'm surprised this has gone as smoothly as I expected so far. So,
well, we're about 5 seconds in. So,
so just wait.
The transitions have worked. The soundboard has worked.
If Dishonored has taught me anything, the beginning of a mission smoothness is not indicative of how it's going to go.
What is this? What is this gameplay? Is this? You're crouching? I don't understand crouching.
Yeah, you guys. We were talking about it earlier. You guys said this was a stealth game, not a shooter. I don't understand.
Yeah, what you're going to be seeing on stream is probably some really impressive stuff, followed by immediately the dumbest shit you've ever seen. Because I'm. Brilliant. It's like a coin flip. It's either like hell yeah, teleport behind, fucking backflip stab, or so this is me recording earlier, like barely awake. So. Enjoy that.
Okay. You're not actively playing this while we're
I am not actively playing this now.
I was streaming rather.
Okay, well, Guy, would you like to take it from the top and have everyone introduce themselves?
Absolutely. Well, I'm Guy. You might know me from Ghosts on a Train or from real life as Guy, but
my buddy Guy.
Maybe. And I will be moderating this discussion on Dishonored. Next up, we'll go to let's go to Kai, because you're right up at the top of the list on the stream.
All right. My name is Kai. I do Chain of Being, which is a sci-fi audio drama, and I also do sound art stuff, which is hard to listen to.
It's real neat.
Yeah.
All right. And just continuing down, Greg.
Hi, I'm Greg. I run and edit Ghosts on a Train, the thing you might know Guy from.
Maybe.
You might also know me from real life. No, you don't. Can any of us really know each other?
I mean, I actually know
and yet
Bryan and Guy.
Rather reading understanding.
But do
something new types.
You right there, Greg?
All right.
Yeah, get a little existential. Hi, I'm Tony. I am marketing director of Faustian Nonsense, and I am a player that is tormented often by the next person who will introduce himself, Bryan, in East Coast Adventures. Yeah, you fucking sadist.
Hello, my name's Bryan Malave. I am the dungeon master for the East Coast Adventures group.
Dungeon
also
Daddy.
Known as, yes, Dungeon Daddy to some people.
Where's your hat?
In or out of the group. I always forget the hat. It's too far away in another
it's simply
room.
Too far.
I can't grab it.
Bryan, as fellow GMs, I've noticed we're sort of across the way. Like Tony's between us. We could like high five through Tony maybe.
Oh, everyone, give me a high five. Let's go.
Is it this way?
It's Bryan. Your left. Gerd, you're right. I think, unless your shit's mirrored. There it is. Okay, there we go.
We're professionals, obviously.
Absolutely.
All right.
Fantastic stuff.
All right, so Guy, what is Dishonored?
One moment. Dishonored is. I was definitely recording this whole time, but Dishonored is a stealth game set in the world of Dunwall, I want to say.
The city of Dunwall.
The city of
Pride
Dunwall.
of Dunwall, maybe.
Pride of Dunwall.
For you Ghost on Train peeps.
Released in 2012. It's kind of got this like pseudo-Victorian kind of like it's actually very similar in like theme and tone to Blades in the Dark.
Well, it's listed as one of the explicit inspirations of Ghost Lines,
Fair enough.
which was the basis of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at Ghost Lines, its inspirations is Dishonored by Arcane. I mean, like, again, the city's called Dunwall, and the city in Blades is called Duskwall. Like, he's not like unapologetically a fan game. Just goes to show. If you want to make a fan game of something, you never know if you're going to make the next Blades in the Dark or whatever.
Yeah.
Duly noted.
So yeah, we'll be discussing Dishonored. This is our first live show, so we're still feeling it out.
It's gone pretty well so far. No drop frames. That's good, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to drop frames.
Don't
No.
you jinx me.
I'm a big time gamer, and dropping a frame is the worst thing you could do to a
Frames
frame.
win games, guys. It's just
Oh god.
Wired connections only, obviously. None of that Wi-Fi bullshit
Yeah,
in this single-player game.
I miss a shot. The fucking ping, dude.
Start like going back in reverse order. And Brian, what'd you think of the game?
All right, so this is my second time playing through this game. I played it back when it released aeons ago, and I loved it the second time round as much as the first time. Granted, the first time I played, I always had to play the goody-goody, not because I like to be good, but I like the challenge because, like in life, it's harder to be a good person than a bad person.
Metaphors.
But this time I had a lot more fun because I didn't have to worry about the constraints of hiding unconscious bodies on the rooftop of the Golden Cat. And I just murdered everybody. It was very cathartic. I enjoyed this second playthrough very much.
Very nice, very nice.
Delightful.
I'm going to actually jump over to Greg for a very specific reason. But Greg, what do you think of the game?
So, this isn't my multiple time playing through Dishonored, but I have tried to start Dishonored 2 different times before this. Once my computer was as shit, and the second time I just couldn't get into it for some reason. So my Steam had like 3 hours already when I like booted up. 3 hours from like 2016. So I was like, okay, let's go. But no, it was a lot of fun actually. Like now that I have like now that the game's so old, my laptop can run it. Yeah, it's really good. I did so in our little Discord chat, Brian and I were occasionally talking. So I did the low chaos run. So we sort of contrasting the good ending that he did the first time around, where you don't kill people. And yeah, it is really cool with one noted exception that sucks and I'll complain about later. It is normally harder to kill people, and but also can be more interesting, except for rats. Every single time I saw a rat, like I would like fuck them up, like that scene in Starship Troopers where like the kids are like, "We're doing our part," stepping on the bugs, and I was like, keeping Dunwall clean.
Now, Greg, will you explain what chaos is in the context of the game?
Yes. So, good ending, good being a good person. Really just not killing people. Within the fiction of Dishonored, there is a rat plague infecting the city. And so more corpses means more infected because it's more disease. So if you kill fewer people, if you do like non-lethal takedowns, there's fewer bodies and therefore lower chaos. And there's other like narrative stuff for like not killing people, but like the basic thing, the basic explanation for why every single person you kill like theoretically matters is because it will increase the chaos as there will be more corpses and the plague will get worse and the whole city will get shittier. So I did low chaos.
I don't see the problem with that.
That sounds horrible. Why would you want to not kill people?
I mean, like, it's also unrealistic because rats will absolutely eat you if you're unconscious, too. Like, they don't care. They're rats.
No, they know.
Rats know, like, oh yeah, this guy's dead.
Yeah, the rats have a hive mind moral compass. Like, that person's not dead. We can't eat them.
Low key. In the very first, in the very first mission, I did like. Low chaos, by the way, isn't killing like no people. It's just like keeping it pretty low. But so I have killed people, but also knocked people out. And in the first mission, at least, I remember seeing the rats tearing the corpse apart and just leaving the unconscious body right there. Like I was genuinely worried for a second. I was like, "You best get away from that guy!" And they're just like, "Nope, we're eating this corpse and leaving." So they know.
They know. The rats have moral compass better than like house cats, I guess.
And you killed them. How dare you?
They're filth. Sorry.
Kai, what you think of the game?
Rattist.
Yeah. I enjoyed myself, but I had some like things that I found a little bit annoying about it. I didn't have the patience to do a peaceful run. I played this game, I can't remember whether I played this game or watched my brother play it, but it came out when I was 10 years old, so I'm imagining I watched my brother play it. And so I kind of know the general. I knew about it beforehand. I think I played more of the second one, which I quite enjoyed. But yeah, overall, a good experience. It's a well put together, well rounded game, I'd say.
Right on.
Yeah.
And Tony, what do you think about the game? Because I'd save Tony and I for last for very particular reasons, as we'll get into in a moment. I'm curious if it changed, though, in your time getting the footage.
So I guess before I go into details, what are other questions that we're gonna be talking about? That way, if like there's something that can be saved for a later discussion, we don't have to talk about it now.
Wow, spoilers.
Spoilers for our own stream.
Yeah, I mean,
skip
right
ahead.
on, I'll get into it. Like this is
heavy
going to be
spoiler territory.
Spoilers. We're getting into spoilers like pretty much right off the bat, because honestly, when it comes to games like this, and just because there's so much more to talk about narratively, I feel, and just like what you were doing and when, that we're going to get into spoilers pretty quick. I think the first question that I can actually ask before we get deep into it would be that the development team for Dishonored, specifically this first one, they're kind of, legacy developers, came from Half-Life 2, Deus Ex, and a variety of other like different kind of prestige games. Do you think there are elements that are kind of reminiscent of those other games in Dishonored? And we'll start with you, Tony, because, well, we left off there.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll go back to how I felt about the game. I just didn't want to make sure that anything I talked about. Yeah. Well, yeah. So, I guess I'll go ahead and just say I'd never played Deus Ex or Half-Life, so I don't really have an answer to either question. I know very little about both of those games, so I guess that answers that question right off the bat. So I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy this game, but there were a lot of things like that irked me. Like a lot of it can be super satisfying, but I realized that I did not care narratively about what was going on. Like there's no characters that stood out to me. Like really, like I didn't really care what I'm doing. Corvo is like completely personalityless, so I don't care about Corvo as like a character. At least maybe I needed to play more. I don't know if maybe that develops, but I wasn't attached to the main character.
One moment.
Yeah. I mean, it's cute. Him and the Emily, the little girl, like they have a cute like friendship thing because he's like taking care of her because your mom got fucking stabbed like in the first 5 minutes of the game. But like that's the thing, is it tries to build this world immediately, and I have no context, and it just I'm thrown into it.
Yeah, the fastest beginning of a game ever.
The one woman in this game is already dead, and the rest are just like fucking maids. Like it's just so uninteresting to me. I'm like, cool, a powerful woman leader. Like this is she's dead.
Well, all right. Have we described the premise? Could you summarize that beginning bit that's so very fast? Did we talk about like the narrative
it's
premise?
just hide and seek, guys, right?
You play hide and seek.
I'll get
and
into
then you get betrayed.
Because I honestly echo a lot of those sentiments that Tony has, where just I could not get into this game. I attempted to play it about 3 times over the course of the month leading up, when I was not going absolutely out of my Gordon editing for this show. But
love being in the edit minds.
Oh yeah, those podcast minds, they'll get you. But every single time that I attempted to play this game ended with me having a headache, either in just like not enjoying myself. I also tried for a low chaos run, and it's not as if I don't like kind of the grim dark setting or the stealth games in general. It's just something about this was not gelling with me, and it felt bad to me, despite how much energy I put into it. Like I was raised on like Thief Gold, Metal Gear Solid, and like I'm on a Ghost Lines Blades in the Dark podcast, and I love Warhammer 40k. Like,
Should be receptive to this setting,
Yeah,
so it
by all accounts, like this should work for me, and it didn't. And
Yeah.
right from the get go, they drop you off. Like, you get on a boat, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, the plague's really bad," and you're just looking around, and then they bring you to. It's like, you're the spy master, you gotta go talk to the Empress. And Emily, the little girl, comes up to you and is like, hey, we could play. And then you can do hide and seek, and it's very cute. But in those first, 5 minutes, most of what you're doing is you're being on a boat, looking around, and then the Empress is just like, oh, Corvo, my beloved. And then just, immediate assassins is assassinated. It's like, cool. It's a very odd thing because it felt like the game was trying to here, you can do all of this stuff. Here's how to you figuring out what to do. Here's all this agency, but it doesn't actually give you any narrative or mechanical agency. At least that's how it felt to me, because it's immediately you're captured and put into the dungeons and time skip 6 months.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's maybe their attempt for it's hard to be connected to a main protagonist when you're just a silent hero, and I don't know if that was kind of their attempt of just hey, here's just a very quick vague setting, throw you in there. We want you to be Corvo, you to be the fresh eyes on this, and I don't know if that was their attempt on trying to have that fast tutorial or setting in the beginning.
Ironically enough,
it's just weird because they set you up as a silent hero, a la Fallout. I mean, the Bethesda games where you have no backstory.
Yeah,
let's just call it what it is. You start off as effectively Gordon Freeman.
That's the Half-Life DNA
pretty much
coming in.
The opening of Half-Life, and they do very much a similar thing where
you're on a vehicle, somebody's talking about it.
Yeah,
oh shit, yeah.
They show you all of these things there's a bunch of things that you can do, but it doesn't feel like you have much control over what happens.
Yeah.
The biggest distinction I feel as someone who has played through Half-Life 2 episodes 1 and 2 and Half-Life the original. And I refuse to phrase that any other way because it's fun for me.
The original.
Gordon Freeman very much does not have character except what character is attributed to him. But in Dishonored, because the only kind of interactions you have are enemies, the only time you're actually communicating or talking to or getting sort of any sort of character or shape for who you are supposed to be, it is either someone trying to kill you or someone you are trying to avoid outright. So that the interaction, kind of the characterization, can be avoided versus Half-Life 2, where it is very much front and center. And that's where I feel with silent protagonists, that's where it kind of breaks down for me. But
I think it's fair.
Continue. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's but related to that, he's a silent protagonist, but they also give him a backstory, but that backstory doesn't feel like it matters fucking at all, except for he has a connection with this little girl, and that's the only thing that you have about his past, at least, and that may change in the future. I don't know. I'm in the second or third mission. Oh, actually, I got quite a bit further in this.
With Emily Caldwin. So the in the very beginning, so there's the two tutorials. They're kind of they're interesting, but you can skip the hide and seek tutorial with Emily, which feels like such a miss. I didn't skip it, of course, because one, it's the stealth tutorial, and two, it's oh, so you're the royal protector. But also you're on such friendly terms with this little girl. She's practically your daughter. but it's like the fact that you can skip that, it's like, I mean, I guess you could be like, I can decide that Corvo's standoffish, and it's like, okay, well then there's like nothing left. There's nothing left for Corvo, because the combat tutorial is like, it's an exciting scenario to tell somebody where it's like, yeah, the combat tutorial is an assassin comes to kill the Empress, and you got to learn how to attack and block at that. But it's like, you don't have like a reason to care. You barely established this relationship before you immediately kill the Empress off.
It is also hard. Like over so fast that like you don't really get a full feel for what you need to be doing.
But outside of that, besides like Corvo's backstory and that, like the only other characterization he gets that is kind of it's neat, and it does culminate to something that we do have to ask questions about. Your chaos level is like because you are Corvo, like people react to your actions, both in the sense of like, oh, if you do this thing in one mission, then maybe in the next mission it's like, oh, this is a thing that happened from your actions, but also like your chaos level in general, like people apparently respond to you differently. Obviously, I only experienced one of them, but I had to look it up, and so every single time I'd be like, oh, well, now that I'm done with this person, let me look up their thing, and it's like, on a high chaos run, this person says this, and it's like, oh, okay, so like Corvo's a different dude if I'm murdery.
Yeah. It's hard to set a backstory for a character that you're supposed to mold of like their like moral compass with, like,
that's fair.
So I get the lack of detail for his backstory because you're supposed to be the one kind of carving his path.
But I'm still, it does feel like such a miss though, that like the two things that are set in stone is connection with this little girl, with Emily, and so like, I mean, I guess that could be your soul. I guess that could be your sole motivation, but also like theoretically you're super close to your Empress, that like you're going on a Dishonored. You're doing a Dishonored because somebody killed her.
I went whole man on fire in this game, like rampage.
Must have been for a reason.
But I don't want any of this narrative talk to take away from the fact that the game can often be really fucking fun. And I found myself enjoy, even though like I could not care less about like what was happening narratively, like it just really didn't interest me. Mechanically, I was very much enjoying, because it felt very railroaded at the beginning. Like there's one path, and I'm like, that's fucking boring. But then it really started to open up, and I really enjoyed that quite a bit, where it's like, I can literally play this how I want. And I think the first couple times that I was like trying to play this game, it was like I was really tired and things like that. And it's not a game that you can just kind of relax and play. I don't feel like it can be kind of stressful, very tactical. And so I think that was kind of my issue the very first like couple times I picked it up. But I found myself playing it today for like 3 hours and like mainly having a good time. I don't like the progression system, but I like mechanically how the game is. And I would actually like to pick y'all's brain about the progression system after we go around and talk about some gameplay stuff. But
last, Bryan, because you had something to say.
Oh, I did. I think that last point I made with the backstory, I think that's what I was just trying to.
Which is a super valid point. Kind of, I think that helps me make some peace with Corvo. As well.
But I do agree that they. That tutorial is a little lackluster and very, very, very quick.
I just feel like narratively, I want to be much more care more. I just don't. I don't know what it is.
What if you don't want to care more? What if you just want to murder people?
It would have been cool to get a win. Like it would have been cool to open up with some sort of win. Because so many people in the game are always like, oh my gosh, like, well, at least the loyalists that you meet, they're like, Corvo, you're such a man of integrity and such a good royal protector. Like we not for a second did we believe it. We broke you out of prison. It's like, okay, like
we took all these
I've
risks
done so
to
far.
get you.
I've played hide and seek and I've failed to protect the Empress. Like,
and I killed I'm glad you guys believe in me.
Like... Kai, you got anything for this?
Was this like the Half-Life 2 Deus Ex?
Half-Life 2 as well, just sort of like, just kind of the whole like intro of the game.
I've not played Half-Life 2 or Deus Ex, but so I can't really talk to that. But in terms of like the intro and stuff, Yeah, I mean, I don't think I was alive when either game came out, so you
Hi,
can't
we're,
really...
we're the outcasts here.
Yeah,
There's the new Deus Ex. I haven't played the old Deus Ex because I was like way too young for that. But there's like a newer Deus Ex that is all right. I played that one; it's fine. You might enjoy it.
Yeah, maybe I'll give it a go. But in terms of the intro, I was I started it and I didn't hate it too much, but I do understand the problem of like, just literally hide and seek and then immediately killed. I seem to remember. See, my biggest sort of connection is you have to like sprint through that. It's all right.
That's our guest star for this episode.
Yes. Yeah. What was that? I forgot what I was saying. I remember the second one having a similar sort of thing as well. But then playing as, I think it's like old, like grown up Emily as well, which I quite liked. And then she talks, I think, during it. So they definitely seem to have learned their lesson of kind of, silent protagonist. I mean, I used to play a lot of Destiny 2 even, and they kind of decided not to have the character talk, which I don't think worked for it. But then in things like Skyrim, it kind of works because you have so much choice over what you look like and what you do and the way you carry yourself and the things you do that it kind of, you can totally put yourself onto it. But they've kind of half built this character for you and you're like completing it, like a sort of connect the dots almost. And it's just kind of, but its sort of intro was very quick. But again, I was kind of getting through it quite quickly, so it kind of worked for me a little bit. But I think as a not fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, BioWare Arcane ain't, unfortunately, but not everyone can be. So let's get right into our standard array, and that is, what were you expecting going into the game, and did it match that or change after playing? And let's start with Greg, because you haven't had too much of an opportunity to talk.
Oh, sure. I've got a notepad here, so I'm just like lazy over what notes to be written. Because like they weren't notes on the questions, they're just notes on like the vibes I have. So I've got like peeping in lock holes is fun and like other stuff.
Vibes are good.
I should have taken more notes, definitely. I'm gonna start doing that now.
I run a podcast playing Ghost Lines, which is has a setting that is very, very inspired by the Dishonored setting. So I was like, I had some notion of what to expect as far as like the set dressing. I was not quite expecting the hub mission style stuff, because I didn't expect that it would be different hubs each time. Because when I played back in 2016, I only got to I got out of the prison, and then I did like the first chapter. I think it was in the middle of the first chapter. I didn't even finish it, but I think I just assumed that like, okay, yeah, this one street in Dunwall is going to be the hub, and you return to it, but like you go it's a series of like different hubs. Like here's one street, here's a party, here's like another sort of district for you to fuck around in. And so that was very interesting to me. And I guess I was expecting something originally a little more in the like Elder Scrolls vein. I think I was like, oh, I maybe, well, this is back the first time I played, but I was expecting something like more in the Elder Scrolls vein, but I didn't realize that it would be like the progression would be upgrades, and there wouldn't be like less numbers than I thought, which is great. I'm glad that there's less numbers. It keeps it snappy. It exceeded my expectations gameplay wise in a very nice way. My settings expectations were matched.
Right.
Nice.
Kai, let's go to you, because I'm going counterclockwise this time, I guess.
I mean, like I said, I've seen gameplay of it because my brother was playing it and I'd watched it when I was little. I think going back a second time, it kind of is as I remember it. Combat was a little bit. I I don't remember the gun being so overpowered. Like, you know, I was doing a sort of, I say speed run, but with none of the tactics, as in I was just playing it very quickly to try and get through as much as possible. Not really in the spirit of the game, but you know. And so I would get caught a lot. And in fact, you know what? I tell a lie. I did try and do a sort of stealth, not killing anyone, and then I got caught in like the first prison break mission and then cut the guy's head off and was like, well, I mean, there's no way going back from this. There's no going back to undo this. And then I found out there is a save thing, but like I couldn't immediately jump back like every time I fucked up. There's no like reset checkpoint kind of thing. So I just went, well, I've killed this guy, so I might as well just kill everyone else in sight.
Reasonable.
You know, yeah, of course, that's how it goes. And then just went round and did exactly that. But it's aged pretty well, but I think because they went for such an art style with it that it just sits nicely. It's a bit like Mirror's Edge. I have a note
in my notepads that I scrolled past that was like, I really appreciate how everybody looks a little gross and weird.
yeah, exactly.
Every single person looks a little weird. Like they're gritty. It's not like fully cartoony, but it's stylized.
Yeah, I appreciate that too.
I think I said in the chat, like, I don't trust anyone because everyone looks evil. Like, everyone's out to betray me because they all look like bastards. Yeah, that's the. I don't even know if that answered the question, but yeah, it's aged better than I expected. I went around killing everything, found it harder to be stealthy, and gun was very OP. But yeah,
I'll take it. Bryan.
Yep.
All right, so. For my second playthrough, I know they promote the game of like, oh, you can be good or bad, and there's going to be plenty of differences between the two. I kind of took that with a grain of salt. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure most things are going to be the same when I go completely evil. And honestly, I was thoroughly surprised of like how much change like as I progressed through the missions and as the body counts increased on each of my missions. The levels got more difficult in a different sense of not like trying to if you're just trying to do stealth, but even if you're just trying to blast through, there's more guards. I got to witness like a whole group of what is Weepers is the name of the infected?
The plague victims. Yes.
Yeah, I saw a whole drove of them just start like taking out this post of guards, and I'm just like, shit. What is this mayhem? Your interactions with the outsider, he's way more sassy to you when you're evil.
Have we mentioned the outsider?
We have not.
No, we haven't.
So we'll get to him. I have something in mind for him.
Yeah, so. And especially and we can get to. You know, if we're talking about like our favorite points in the game, but like something happens later in the game because I was evil. That was like, it made me so happy and mad. And I'm just like, I deserve this, but I'm still mad about it. So as like a replayability standpoint, it was awesome seeing these differences a second time through and really appreciating the evil side of things for a change.
Cool. That's very cool that like they had that much of a difference, even though like the city fundamentally remains the same.
Yeah, everyone hated me.
All right, Tony.
So I actually knew very, very, very little about this game. Nearly nothing, because I saw a trailer for Dishonored 2 at E3 one year. So my entire expectations were kind of based on that. And 2 looks like, obviously it's like 4 years later. It looks, I think it came out in 2016. It looks a lot better. Visually, it's like really nice because it's like next gen. It was, Xbox One compared to like PS3 and Xbox 360. And so I guess like visually I was like, knowing it was older, I thought it would look a little worse, and it actually ends up looking a little better than I expected as well. It's stylized enough that, like, obviously the textures aren't crazy, but everything looks very cohesive. There's a lot of games from this era that just don't hold up. There's a lot of PS3 games that were trying to really push, that like photorealism because it's a more powerful console, and it just looks like garbage. So I can really appreciate it visually for that. I think because my experience with a lot of stealth games is also, like Guy said, like Metal Gear Solid, and I played a lot of Assassin's Creed. I think I expected the progression system to be a little different. I'm used to, like, Assassin's Creed, like your upgrades and stuff like that are kind of like part of the narrative. And I found myself like, I found it super fucking tedious because they tell you, oh, there's, you got one of 7 runes, and then you look and they're like all over the place. And you're like, God, like, I feel like I'm missing out by not doing it, but I just want to get on with the story. And then the bone shards, which are functionally unique, those are also all over the place. And I felt like, well, if I don't get them, then I'm like missing out on a big part of the game. And like, I didn't like that because it felt like I'm FOMOing. Like I'm feeling like I'm missing out, and I feel like I'm not enjoying the game if I don't do literally like completionist. And like, so that really irked me for some reason. And I felt like I wasn't like playing the game to its fullest because I wasn't doing every little thing the game had to offer. It was really weird.
Yeah. I think if I used any other ability except for the teleportation one, that probably would have annoyed me as well. But all I was doing was just blinking around the place. So I needed about max 7 runes to fully upgrade it. That was all I had to do, because it's just, why would I do anything else except for, oh, you want to stab me? Or I'm on that roof now, so have fun, I guess. Like, it's just, I don't know. I'm a movement guy in games, it seems.
I have something to add to that specifically. And I guess I'll just roll into my answer to the question because it fits here.
Very clever.
As I said before, I grew up on Thief. I grew up on Metal Gear Solid, MGS 1 through 3 in particular. Hell yeah. Never got a PS3, so never played 4. Whoops.
Oops.
Whoopsies.
Oh no. And like, I'm into the kind of the grim dark setting, so like it's not anything too new to me, but the one thing that kind of stuck out to me and really bugged me in like Thief or Hitman, if you get found out, like it's either like you need to be really, really aggressive, which they do have in this game, or you fail very quickly. And it felt like the failure was just like a little bit too slow. Like it took too long to die, just like straight up.
Yeah.
And likewise,
and depending on if you auto saved.
Yeah, depending on if you auto save, it take you back too far. So like it kind of encourages save scumming, which is that just doesn't feel very good at all.
The loading
save as well.
Oh god, the load times are ridiculous with that. So to go on with like, it takes forever to fail because when you reload, it takes like an entire minute. At least it did on Xbox. It took like a fucking minute.
I can't relate. I've played on PC.
Like my laptop, my laptop from 2020 was playing this 2012 game like nothing. 3-second loading screens.
Fuck, really?
Still like
I
didn't
found
have
that
much
the
in the way of
saving
load
was
speed.
still quite tedious.
It's annoying as like a function that is kind of encouraged. And likewise, a big problem that I had with the game is it doesn't really give you too many tools to avoid conflict or to escape conflict. Pretty much you are limited to 2 powers, which is, the same button both times, and that's either teleportation or time manipulation. You have no other options. There's no option for like non-lethal takedowns other than just stealthing behind a person.
Sleep dart.
But you can't really use that in combat.
Yes, you can.
You can.
It just takes a couple seconds if you shoot normally, and then if you get the sleep dart upgrade, then it's instant.
Yeah.
I was the most powerful coward there was. Somebody finds me, sleep dart. Oh, what's that? I'm surrounded. Time stop. I'm gone.
Fair enough, but it felt to me like they gave a lot more options to lethality.
Yes.
Which in a game that seems to be kind of more inclined to stealth, that just felt odd to me. That like they gave more options to the one kind of that like, this is the bad one. You're doing the bad if you do this, and so it's telling you one thing with kind of the narrative and like the loading screens, because like they do have like, if you kill less people, like you get a different ending. Like it pretty much straight up like tells you like,
It tells
Stealth
you
is good.
not only that it's a different ending, but they also are explicitly like, by the way, the ending will be less grim if you're nice. Like they are
Yeah.
straight up like setting expectations right now. You kill a lot of people, this is gonna be sad.
Yeah, like
I was
straight up,
sad.
like it tells you like if you kill more people, like if you go in for the violent route, if you go for the combat, you get a darker ending. Things are darker, like overall, but then they don't give you as many tools to kind of
Yeah.
I think
avoid that.
there's a fine line between like between making non-lethal harder because it's like it's being good should be harder.
Which parrots what Bryan was saying earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Meanwhile,
Evil.
being evil, it's like rad as hell. But the problem is if you make it too rad, and if you make being good not rad enough, then you can
Being
sort of
good
feel
needs
like
to
you're
feel
missing out.
rewarding.
I had a good time, but in the back half, I did notice a pattern where, I'd be doing good at my stealth. Every single time I was noticed, it's like, well, time to just do bend time, zip somewhere else, wait this out, and like that was my move.
Right.
They give you basically like they limit your toolbox. They give you like you find the one thing that works and you just keep doing that over and over and over and over and over. And like that can be fun if they like design it in a certain way, but for me at least, and admittedly I have not played that much of the game, it was already growing tedious for what little I got through. And I find that upsetting. So
apparently possession you can also use to escape. I was like apparently possessing a person like just is good. Like they don't know what's happening.
Unless you have them walk off a cliff.
Unless you have them walk off a cliff, then they're like, oh well, clearly you just had them walk off a cliff.
yeah,
but it's like you could have somebody fighting and apparently just like possess a dude in front of somebody and they'll be like, well, I guess he's gone, which is very funny to me.
That is very funny, but it's I guess I was expecting in the game like they gave you like a toolbox, like the structure of the game and the structure of like the levels once it actually like you get past the kind of tutorial of the prison break is you are at A, here is B, this is your target, there is a million things to do in between that, basically like an entire city.
Yeah.
Do what you want. And then they don't give you that many tools to really play in that sandbox. And that upset me. So I was expecting maybe a little bit more variety, a little bit more versatility, a little bit more like I can figure out what to do here. And it felt like the figure out what to do was like I kept coming up with the same answer. And that kind of sucked. So I was expecting a little bit more from you, Dishonored. You let me down.
You always just go to Granny Rags and she'll take care of everything for you. She's the best.
I did get to Granny Rags.
Susan
Granny
Sarandon
Rags was pretty good. I think something. I think the game took itself a little bit more serious than I was expecting it to, because like I felt like the game atmospherically, maybe I would have been a bit more interested in it if I thought it was like a bit funnier, like something to. It feels like it takes itself very seriously a lot of times, though. A lot of like what happens is so over the top ridiculous, like swarms of rats eating people. It's just like absurd. But like I felt like I wanted more things like Granny Rags. Like I wanted more humor. Everything felt so dark and gritty and serious, and I'm like, I'm not interested in the world enough that like I care. So I think that was one thing that also like stifled my expectations. Is like I think I expected to laugh more. Maybe it's because Titanfall 2 was funnier than I expected, but I was hoping this would also be pretty entertaining.
Dishonored does feel like an old, like reading like a classic novel sometimes. With how like the narrative, the way it goes, like the story, very very serious at points, although sometimes like a humorous, like one humorous thing could happen, but it's like
it's more of like a tragic comedy than a comedy. You know what I mean? Like it's more like tragedy over time is the comedy they're going for, not like any ha-has.
I recently saw a video that kind of featured an interview with the great dungeon master Brennan Lee Mulligan. of college humor, Dropout, Roll20, Dimension 20,
There we go.
etc., etc. Cool dude.
It's great.
We love him. Basically discussing how like humans, it is in our nature like to comfort others. It like either like trying to make people laugh or just like trying to like show kindness, and the being too serious and being too grim is like kind of antithetical to how like humans actually behave.
Yeah.
So it felt like in this game a lot of that was kind of like humanity was lacking, and that's maybe why I didn't connect with it as much.
You know what they did? They did the Bethesda thing of like a lot of the humor of the game to be found is in like books or random pages of the piece of paper that you're supposed to read while you're like climbing all over the city, because it's like, ooh, what's this? Oh, excerpt from a naughty play. Oh, what's this? Oh, this is a diary entry. Oh, what happened to this guy is kind of funny. But like, there's a lack of humanity to that kind of humor, because it is just you sitting reading some text on a screen and being like, tee, and then you go back to
You're like, wait a minute, this doesn't have the safe combination.
I mean, here's the thing. It is a Bethesda game.
It technically is published by Bethesda, yep.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
that's partially why I thought. That's why I was expecting more Elder Scrolls.
You were talking about like sort of not being super into the world and things like that. Did you find that was it the Heart of a Living Thing that like helps you find the runes and stuff?
So much.
That was the
interesting.
one thing keeping me very invested in, like, I love a bit of like slightly strange mystery going on.
Kai, explain it.
So
yes, please.
Go ahead.
we've not. I think we're getting to the outsider, but there's a mystical man, and he gives
Should
you.
we start with the outsider and like the mysticism?
He's
of
a
the
mystical
game?
man who you meet in your dreams.
Should I?
Let's start
Do you
with the
want me to?
outsider.
Kai, do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Talk
the
about the outsider. Talk
outsider.
about meeting the outsider.
You go to bed in the roof in the attic of this pub, and you wake up in this strange kind of ether in between space, and this emo starts telling you that he's made you his.
He's just some guy. He's a magic
He's
man.
fucking
He's
My
just
Chemical
some
Romance
guy.
fan.
Like, he didn't have any voice effect. For some reason in my memory I gave him a voice effect, but he just talks like a guy. So this like this guy just starts like chatting to you and sort of says, "Oh, you're," and then tattoos your hand, and he puts like a mark on your hand and says, "Oh, you're one of my children now," or something like this.
Yeah,
the
you
mark
like
of the outsider.
post-hardcore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And,
Yeah, you're magic.
Corpo
You have
grows
the
a
power to do
fringe and all this sort of stuff, and then teaches you how to teleport, and you go through all this stuff, and then he gives you, and that's like why you have all these powers of like possession and seeing through walls and time slowness
blast.
or whatever. Yeah, exactly. And so
Cool.
then,
Thank you, Magic Emo.
Thank you, Magic Emo. Thanks for the teleportation. And so then he gives you this heart that is kind of got all like clockwork in it and stuff. And like mechanically, it helps you kind of find the runes, and you can see them through walls, and it beats faster. But another thing is, if you're using it and you activate it like you would any other power, it will like whisper little snippets of things to you. So like, and it also changes depending on where you are as well. So if you do it in this in-between space, it kind of gives you these slightly, I don't know, mystical like snippets
Cryptic,
of, well, yeah, cryptic's the right word for it. Like, oh, this place is at the end of time where everything flows in the end, or this, that, the other. And then, you might be in, I don't know, I'm trying to think, like the last one I just played was you go and kidnap that physician. And he goes like, oh yeah, there's blood in the pylons here. Many men died to build this place, that sort of thing. And it's just, it really kind of brings, I don't know, it injects an amount of mystery that kind of kept me very intrigued of like, otherwise it would have just been, oh, this is a boring kind of, it's like miserable. It's just like
You can
miserable.
also point it at people.
Yeah.
I did
Which is
not know
cool
that.
as hell.
Yeah.
If you point it at people, the heart will tell you about them.
Oh,
So
shit.
like if you hold it up to like Piero, the guy who makes stuff, like she'll be like, he sees devices and blueprints in his dreams. He's visited, inspired. Or like if you go to like Havelock, it's like he has the bloodlust. He went out to sea to kill man and whale alike, and it's just like it's really cool.
That's cool. Yeah. It like a bit like in the Watch Dogs, I guess, when you can kind of go up to anyone and scan them and it'll tell you their internet search history or whatever. But then like it was otherwise made of a sort of pretty standard like boring Victorian thing, which is just I can go outside for that. I live in London. It's
I'm going to say it's probably very not interesting to you, Kai.
I felt right at home, honestly. Besides everybody having American accents, I did feel like this is just London.
that
There's rats everywhere. And
I gotta go through a wall of light to get to work.
that's just the tube. But it was as a side thing. It was a bit weird to me that everyone did have American accents, yet it very clearly wanted to be Victorian British, But I guess they couldn't find enough. Couldn't find enough English actors. But yeah,
better than people oi governing the rain.
Yeah, to be honest, I probably would have hated the game a lot more if it was that.
So I've gotta ask. Would it be funnier or weirder if they just had like one character with like a really like pronounced British accent, just no one else, but just one?
Yeah, I thought they were going to do like the thing that most films do, where it's like all the good guys are American and all the bad guys have English accents. But they didn't do that but for some reason in my head they did, because I'm so used to having that. But yeah, everybody was just sort of like subtly American. So. Or I guess like posh American. I don't really. Was that what? I don't know. You guys would know better than I do. This sort of kind of.
They weren't exactly the most working class.
They were putting on some sort of affect. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Brian.
Now for and I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but the voice of the heart is that Jessamine's voice?
So I have not played the DLC yet, but I think it does elaborate on that.
Who's Jessamine?
She's the Empress.
It's the Empress's voice. There's hints to it actually when you use the heart, because the heart like remembers being alive. If you use the heart in the distillery, she's like, they make.
I've been here.
Yeah, I've tasted it. And going further ahead. I will not elaborate further, but when you face down the assassin who actually killed the Empress and you use the heart on him, the heart says, "What? Do you expect me to forgive this man?" And it's just like, whoa, heart, you're very opinionated about this guy in particular.
That's a nice detail there. I like that.
They do, like, it is the same voice actors. I'll just cut to the chase there. Like, so the other part is they do show kind of like, here's the corpse of the Empress, and then there's a note of like, you cannot save her, and then just like literally seconds afterwards, like, here's the heart. So it's like they kind of draw a lot of lines.
Yeah.
This game raises a lot of mysteries. Gets a lot of I wasn't present for the Transistor episode, but I did suggest it. So but I do know some of us here are familiar with vibe-based gaming. But the problem is Dishonored chose not to subsist entirely on vibes, but to like feed us vibes that were very interesting, but then also have a narrative that was kind of a little lacking. So it's just
absolutely.
I'm playing for the vibes. You got me, but also like we're doing full conversations with people. Like you can just tell me. Like it's
right.
I feel like if you actually. So the more we talk about this, the more I feel like I would have enjoyed the game more had I just been able to spend more time to explore everything and do everything. I feel like as a complete package, this game might feel more cohesive. But as I take individual parts that I've kind of like been not quite surface level, but I only have like a little bit of time with everything. There's a bunch of stuff that just feels like lackluster, but I feel like if I were to play it all and experience it all like a bit more seriously, maybe I'd enjoy it more as a complete package.
Maybe.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
Go ahead. I'm about to ask another question.
Like you were talking about how like there's like vibes and then what actually happens. Like a really good example of that, because I played like a few hours ago just to kind of catch myself up and get a bit as far ahead as I could. I just finished the mission where you kidnap the physician whose name I keep forgetting. Is it like
Sokolov?
Sokolov, that's it.
Sokolov, just like in Metal Gear.
That's all I can think about.
Yeah, same.
in the introduction it says like, oh yeah, he does all this, like you get a rune there, and the outsider, whenever you pick up a rune, sometimes the outsider will come to you and go, oh you're killing a lot of people, huh? And does that sort of, I don't know,
I got a lot of that.
yeah. And then he said, oh yeah, like he constantly, he thinks he can summon me, and he studies the runes that I make, or he studies my runes and does all this thing. He could start by being more interesting, this sort of thing, and then like which I quite liked. And I was like, oh, okay, so he's doing like magic science, and he's kind of trying to study the runes and stuff. And I go, and he's not doing any of that. Like, it's just a library and a woman in a cage, and that's like the whole mission. And it's like, I want to see this shit. Like, I want to see rituals that he's doing under churches and stuff. Like, that sounds sick as fuck. But instead, it's just more depressing.
Show me the atrocities.
Yeah.
I think this game has a problem. Yeah, I think this game has a problem with telling rather than showing.
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
kind of pervades the entire experience. So let's get right into the question. We're going to start with you, Bryan. What was the moment that stuck with you most narratively and in gameplay?
So
this one.
Actions have consequences, especially when a lot of those actions is
here we go.
Brutal murder. So
Weird, right?
The final mission of the game, Sam, the boatfarer, takes you to rescue Emily from the
number one Corvo stand.
Yeah, there's one guy who takes you to every single hub mission, and he's like, hey man, you're awesome. At least in my playthrough.
Right. So he was a little less enthusiastic about me for the most part, but it's still, I'm still like shocked by what happened, because I wasn't expecting it. It's one of those things that like, this didn't happen to me when I played the good route, and I can't believe this just happened. But he drops you off, and this is where he just spills his heart out to you, and he's just like, listen, like, you've killed terrible people, but I think you're the absolute worst out of them all. And he gets you to the dock, and he's like, get out, like, just out. And if you like wait there for a little bit, he gets aggressive. And so I get out, and then he pulls out his gun, and he's like, I did what I needed to do, but now I'm going to do what I think is best and let them know that you're here. And he fires his gun off in the air.
That's so
and
sick.
I'm like, Sam, why?
Buddy.
I thought we like...
Is it because I summoned a horde of rats to kill the Bottle Street Boys?
Listen,
Was it the murder?
like, everyone I killed turned to ash. Like, what? Come on. And I was I paused the game, and I just had to like collect myself. I'm just like, I feel betrayed, even though this is justified. Like, what the fuck, Sam?
Well, the
That's
consequences of your own actions.
Right? Yeah. And then I had to immediately murder Sam and everyone else that came running.
Oh no, you had to kill Sam?
I didn't have to. I was It was a moment of weakness. I wanted to. I felt betrayed, and then everything turned red.
Shit.
I don't know, but hey, Wind
you
Blast is
hasn't
a
been
hell of a
there.
spell.
Who hasn't been there?
So that was probably this part that stood out for me the most this second time through, and still great.
Right on. I think that covers like both of them, unless you have something else.
Oh no, yeah, that's it. I could talk about it more, but I'm still sad about it.
Cool.
Still tender.
Yeah. Keeping on the counterclockwise theme, Tony. What stuck out to you, if anything?
No, I think so. Something that I really enjoyed as I got deeper into the game is like truly like the routes that you can take and the way you can complete a level. So one of the coolest things that happened that will happen a little bit later in this video is you kind of get to like the rewire tools, and you can really like do some fucking damage depending on like what tools you have. So I was like, oh, there's so many guards here. And it's like on a bridge. It was when you get to the bridge after this bathhouse level. And I'm like, fuck, there's like 8 people just standing right here. How am I going to get around? I'm like, okay, let me go under the bridge, teleport across. I'm like, oh, I can rewire this thing from here. What does that do? And it just starts, and their like turret thing turns against them, and they start zapping everyone. And it's just like 8 people dying, dogs are dying. I was like, holy shit. That was awesome. Out of nowhere, their own technology just betrayed them, and that was so sick. So that gameplay wise is like, okay, this game, like you have your routes, and it's like really fun to like, oh yeah, I could just snipe them. I could try to sneak around. I could create distractions, or I can just like, melt them all with their own shit. That's awesome. So gameplay wise, that was my like moment that I was like, the endorphins are running and getting pumped up.
Truth.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, this is fun. Murder is great.
Yes. Fixate on that feeling.
Yeah, and then so like, and also when you first get, I guess like related to like just like causing destruction and chaos is, so I guess I'll have this be tied. When you first return to that like the city or whatever, the place you go on like that first like on the second mission, you kind of go right back to it. And I was like, that's weird. We're going right back to the same place we were. You're like, oh yeah, there's more chaos as you cause like more destruction. And there's like all the Weepers are like on the bridge. So they're like blowing them up and shit. I was like, whoa, there was just guards chilling off their own bodies there before. Now there's like a full blown war happening on this bridge and like explosions and body parts. So I guess related to causing chaos mechanically, narratively, the chaos is really interesting too. And I kind of wish I got to play more to explore that. So I will say murder is both narratively and mechanically my favorite part of the game. And stuck with me.
That's what I like to hear.
Fair enough. Greg, what you got?
Okay, so my gameplay moment was one that my gameplay moment was in the part. Both mine are in the party level, actually. There's a level where you need to defeat. You need to get rid of an informant, somebody's lover, and she's one of 3 sisters that are throwing a big party. But before you show up, one of your allies, Lord Pendleton, is like, "Hey, I'm a noble. Listen, here's a letter. There's a guy there. He might be looking for me. Could you hand him this letter?" And I was just like, "Sure. I love doing side quests. Like this rules." So I show up and I see the guy, and he's like sitting outside in the courtyard having a drink. He's got 2 bodyguards or whatever. This is one of the few missions where you're like you're in a neutral zone. Yeah. So as long as you like be chill, like nobody will attack you on sight. So I like walk over to the guy, and he's like, "What's up?" And so I hand him the letter, and he reads it, and he goes, "Lord Pendleton, you fucking lying coward." And he walks over to a box, opens up the box. There's 2 pistols inside, and hold on a second. Beef.
Dog drama.
Dog drama. There's 2 pistols inside, and the other guard's like, "Okay, 10 paces apart, the Lord Pendleton II will pick his weapon." And so you have a duel with this dude. And like I hadn't been using guns a whole lot, but I was like, oh, we're just dueling? I can just duel in this neutral zone. And yeah, you like walk 10 paces apart, and like you're presumably supposed to use this pistol. And so yeah, it was like it was a really fun little moment. Because I was like, oh, I can just I can shoot this guy, it's fine. And then for my narrative moment, because it's like a purely narrative thing, both of them kind of bleed into each other, but the narrative of this thing is what stuck with me. For each of your high value targets, as we said, the mission layout is you start off at A, you need to get to B, there's stuff in between. This guy was one of the things between, but my actual B, the target I was going for, you can always non-lethal them by doing something convoluted, but ultimately very interesting. But you can always, like, it's the idea is the non-lethal way just removes them from the equation. So like the first guy, you like brand him or whatever, and so he's like he in such a way that his religious order doesn't accept him. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something like that. And there's the non-lethal route here is one guy walks up to the party and he's like, "Hey, I don't want you to kill this woman. She's the woman I love. Could you bring her to the cellar alive? I have a boat. I'll whisk her away. I promise you'll never see us." And I was like, I'll help this young lover. Do a little puzzle to like get her to join me in the cellar. I like knock her unconscious with a sleep dart, and I'm like, hey, buddy, don't worry. She doesn't know where she's going. And he's like, great, thank you so much. You've done a good thing. She'll learn to love me one day. And I was like, oh, no!
Oh, shit.
Whoops.
And he sails away. And I was like, oh, he's a Phantom of the Opera. I was like, wow, these non-lethal routes are actually really dark. Oh, this was the darkest shit. Possibly worse than just killing her.
Yeah,
Probably.
Oh my fucking god.
Holy shit.
I was such a great moment.
Whoops.
I was not expecting that.
Mhm.
No.
Wow.
Kai, what you got for us?
Oh fuck. Shit. I mean, narrative. I guess gameplay. I just really enjoyed like eavesdropping on people. I think just listening to people's conversations and kind of getting narrative from any way I can, squeezing it out, get blood from a stone type of thing. Like just listening to people talk and stuff. Like I kind of started to piece things together of like, the Empress is also a bit shit. Like, if you kind of like, they were talking about like how Solokhov does these terrible rituals underneath like abbeys and like he's obviously like has people kidnapped and does experiments on people and stuff. And he was doing that before, and when the Empress was still in power. And like, if you look at like the overseers, like they were still kidnapping children and like torturing people under the Empress. So it's like, I thought it's like, I guess it's like, it is like grimdark, but like, do I really care like about, like everybody's going to be a tyrant no matter what, but I guess that is just royalty. So that's how it works. But just listening to people talk and kind of figure stuff out. And yeah, I'm still living in a monarchy, by the way. It's sick. But
Meet the new boss. Name of the old boss.
But and gameplay wise, I guess, I mean, when it says stands out, like, does it have to be positive? Because I have a thing that really fucking annoyed me.
Yeah, hit us.
When you have to go collect the rat guts to poison, you don't have to, sorry. When I went to go and get the rat guts to poison the thing, and I went into this guy's house and naturally killed everyone. I didn't kill the maid, and the maid was kind of freaking out. And then I just walked past her and she went, oh, and sort of fell over. And I was like, oh, sorry. And then I was like, oh, this is the wrong way. Walked back, bumped into her again. She's like, ah, and then fell over again. And I bumped into her a third time and she fucking died. And I listen, I'm a beefy, Corvo's a big guy, but if you bump into someone 3 times in a row, it doesn't fucking kill them. So I'm not sure what to do. So that was just the end of my okay, there's no point. Like I walk into people and they fucking die, so I'll just kill everyone in sight. But that kind of annoyed me a bit because it's like, that's not exactly fair. Oh, and the other thing as well, sorry, this is another thing that narratively annoyed me, was who's the guy that you have to kill his brothers? And he's like, oh yeah, you're going to have to kill my brothers.
Lord Pendleton, the same guy who sends you in as a second for a duel.
Yep.
Yeah. So Lord Pendleton was like, oh, you're going to have to kill my brothers. You're going to have to kill my brothers. That sucks. And then I do it. And then he goes, oh, you killed my brothers. What the fuck? Like, you fucking told me to. What do you expect?
Yeah, he's like, I wish I could thank you, but I can't. I'm not going to.
You're
why you literally told me to.
So that pissed me off because it's like, don't tell me to do a thing and then go, oh, I wish you hadn't done that thing. And it's like, I don't know, mate. I don't know what you want. Fuck it. Like, yeah. So it didn't. Yeah. Those two things kind of stood out to me and that they annoyed me. But yeah.
I mean, that reminds me a lot of Spec Ops: The Line, where just it's like, oh, hey, you're gonna have to do this terrible thing, and the game's giving you like all this direction to do the terrible thing. Oh no.
Oh.
Zencaster's having some issue on my end, but it looks like it's fine.
Everyone seems good on my end.
Yeah, it's fine for me.
But in Spec Ops, like, you're gonna do this terrible thing, and then afterwards, like, oh no, you did the terrible thing, and it's just like,
yeah.
Do you want me playing the game or not? It's
wasn't that people's complaint about The Last of Us 2 as well? It was like, oh, yep, like you kill a dog and this goes, oh, Jeffrey, and it's like, well, I had to, because there's no other choice. Like, yeah, it's that
everything's
kind of
just
thing,
morally gray.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the moment that stuck with me, kind of, it's kind of both narrative and in gameplay. It's when you first escape from the prison and you go and it's like, you have to go meet these people, and there's a door there, and you can use the keyhole mechanic, which is just looking through the keyhole, and they will talk about you like, "Oh, I'm not so sure," and it's like, why do we need this guy? Like he's effectively an assassin. And it's just like, yeah, we need an assassin. We need people killed. Like it, basically, like saying like he's kind of we're going to use you as the character, as the player, to do the dirty work and throw you under the bus because that's what they need from you. And I have a feeling that was kind of, implying some sort of betrayal later on, because this just seems like that kind of game.
Yeah. Don't trust anyone. Everyone's ugly.
That's
the
right.
moral of the
Always
story.
more innocence left to lose.
That's
as
right.
the
Don't trust
outsider
anyone.
says.
Murder everyone.
There we
Hey,
go.
I didn't murder civilians. In fact, on the video, I had accidentally killed one of the fucking
I
brothel
saw that.
girls,
I saw
and I was
that.
like, "Oh shit!" Because I shot the guy, but it's like a shotgun pistol, and they both just ragdolled, and I was like, "Fuck."
Oh yeah, you were
Right.
talking earlier about like female characters, like the Empress who dies immediately, maids, and then also that brothel level. Like that's
Yeah,
all we
it's
get.
like-
So I was gonna.
Like, can we have one decent femme character? Everyone fight there's Emily.
Randy
She's
Rags.
awesome.
Rags.
She's insane.
Randy
Randy Rags. Oh,
That's
the
the-
crazy fucking murder fucking hobo lady. Sweet.
Hey,
Yeah.
she gives you a rune later. Like, come on. She gives you a
Yeah,
bunch
I
of
think
runes.
she gives you
I guess.
2 runes in that first level. Because then you
Yeah,
get her.
And
but
then
she
she gives you
one.
another one at the brothel level.
Oh, I didn't
Oh,
find her
yeah,
that
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
To be honest, I was speedrunning by that point. Yeah.
All right. So I've got. I'm going to try and wrap this up because we've been going on for over an hour.
Yeah,
but
yeah, questions. We gotta go questions.
questions.
All right.
So let's just jump right ahead. If this is one in the series, we check out the other games. When did you play Dishonored 2 or finish this game?
I wanna touch the DLC for this because the gameplay was fun, but also my desire to play the rest of this saga also comes from the fact that the story wraps up super abruptly.
Yeah.
Like it,
Okay.
like straight up. For those that didn't get to the end, you have some kind of final confrontation that changes low or high chaos. I hear you do it.
Yes.
Get Emily. Emily retrieved. And then we immediately cut to the outsider in his normal man voice, just being like, just doing summing stuff up, and you see little tableaus in his between space of the future. It's all good. They all lived happily ever after, for me at least. And then it just ends. And there's a lot of plot points. There's there's an entire character, the assassin, that killed the Empress, that seems to have a lot implied for him, and then he you never get any of that, and it turns out it's because he's the star of the DLC.
Yep.
And
Cool.
apparently
Great.
features in the other games. So I want to play more because Dishonored 1 gave me just enough to hook me, but also too little to not leave me frustrated.
Fair enough. Bryan.
Yes. So I would definitely. So gonna follow the same track and gonna play the DLC because I never played it the first time around. So I'm looking forward to that. And played the second one. I enjoyed the second one more than the first one. I thought they did a good job with the new enemy types, the new, I guess, infestation. So it's not rats, it's blood flies, which are way more terrifying to deal with.
Yeah, they're horrible.
You mean you can't just jump onto a sofa and hit them with your sword safely?
I mean, you can, just not safely. The second one, you have the choice of either playing as Corvo or Emily, and depending on which one you choose, you get different powers and abilities and stuff. And I mean, Emily's powers are pretty unique, especially the linking one is pretty good, and which I appreciate because that does add utility for the non-lethal routes too. So I felt like they balanced it a little bit more in the second game. So yes, I would play the second one again, which I'm probably going to plan on doing.
Right.
Another evil, very, very evil route.
I'll use it
Kai,
for murder.
would you go back to Dishonored 2? Play it again. Or finish the DLC?
No, probably not. just because it's not the kind of game I'm into at the moment. Like I think like every episode has been me going like it's not fast enough. Like before I was playing like fucking Doom Eternal, and now I'm playing Halo Infinite, and like I just seem to be very into mean quick games. Don't know what that's about. But I think I did enjoy Dishonored 2 a lot, and I think I seem to remember having the DLC to that, which was like Death of the Outsider, where you play a completely different character. Which I seem to. Again, this was ages ago, but I really liked that as well. I did like Dishonored 2 a lot. I probably won't even finish this game, to be honest. But it's good. Like it's got something to it. I mean, obviously, like we all had mixed feelings, but there was enough to keep us interested.
Yeah,
but
I mean, we talked about it for an hour plus, so yeah, I hope so.
I will probably just keep playing Halo Infinite. But yeah, I think that's just going to be the situation for a while. But yeah.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the gameplay right now of Tony with the head.
Yeah. I was going to try to distract him with the head, and then I was like, I actually really like this part. This was a fun way to... your choice to kill them in a unique way is you get to gas them and then loot their bodies. And the gas still makes their bodies disappear? Really weird.
Tony, would you finish Dishonored or give Dishonored 2 a try?
I feel like because I had more fun with it today. I think because I had more fun with it today while gathering footage for the stream, I think I probably should revisit it in a different light and maybe do like low chaos or something like that, or maybe something more stealthy. So I think I would, and Dishonored 2 looks really good. And I heard it's even better than the first one. Yeah. Mechanically, it looks super fun. Mechanically, I'm okay on this, so it really, I guess, would depend on if Dishonored 2's like progression system was like similar, or if it was like a little bit different. Because I'm really not a huge fan of like the runes and the bone shards. I really don't like the progression system of this game very much. I think I was expecting more like Metal Gear. You find your weapons and ammo, and like you like do that. I don't know why I thought that would be it, but that's kind of maybe it was because it's stealth. So it's like, okay, you have to go in and you use the tools in the area. But so I'd say a staunch maybe.
Fair enough. If I can pick up Dishonored 2 for like $5 in a Steam sale, I will give it a try, because it seems like it has fixed pretty much all of the gripes that I've had with this game. I don't think I'm going to go back and finish Dishonored 1 because, as stated, it gives me a headache, and just life is too short to force yourself to play a game. Life is too short to force yourself through media that you're not enjoying. Like games are supposed to be fun, and I wasn't having that much fun with this. As much as that sucks to say, like it's fine, and that's where I stand with it.
And honestly, like if you want to like jump straight into the second one, it automatically just defaults to like the good ending. So like nothing from the first game transfers over to the second. So you can you can punt it out the door if you.
I kind of figured.
Yeah, curb stomp it, whatever. You can play the second one. Second one's fun.
All right. Now we're gonna turn this to audience questions. We got about 20 minutes. If you guys have any questions for us, anything particular?
I like how we got the advice from Joe of like, oh, maybe if like your reviews were less glowing, and then immediately the next game we do, everybody fucking like
bam, bam.
Oh shit! Like, oh, what the fuck? Like,
I really like this discussion too, because like a lot of my opinions on like I'm more inclined to replay the game because of some of the light you've shed on how the game progresses and things like that, and it is more interesting to me. So I also like that we had more divisive views on the game. Like Guy and I weren't gung-ho about it. Greg, Bryan, and Kai seemed to enjoy it a bit more than we did. But the game was coming around to me, so it's interesting. Like I feel like I should give the game a better chance. And I'm much more inclined post this conversation to do so.
Yeah.
Also, until we get questions, can we talk about how? Okay, probably my biggest gameplay gripe was that it is always correct to just be in like your dark vision, see through walls phase.
Yes.
And then you have that sound effect. Hi, how are you? Yeah.
That was probably what gave me the headache, because I just had you have it on constantly.
You have it on constantly, so all you see is orange.
It's so like there's no reason. I spend 80% of my time in that because that's just how you play the game. Like,
you got to put on your gamer glasses.
That's like if there was like a cooldown on it or something, or if it like actually was super mana intensive, I might like try to like peek more. I never had a peek unless I was like peeking a poke like and shoot. Like I never had to really do like. I think actually having to do recon and stuff like that, not just like, oh, this guy's behind the door, I can kill him. Like, oh shit, like, I want to be surprised by an enemy. You are never surprised that an enemy is there in this game. And I think that's something that I miss about like Assassin's Creed, Metal Gear Solid, specifically like Metal Gears, like that side of stealth. It's like, as you play it more, you understand where things are and it gets more interesting, like how you can progress. Like I knew everyone was, it was just not like getting caught doing dumb shit is like why I end up in fights, not because, oh shit, he surprised me.
Yeah.
Dark Souls kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Yes.
The cool thing about Dishonored 2 that I appreciate the approach that they took was when ultimately your character meets the outsider again, you have a choice of declining his gift and do like a no power mode. So you are just no dark vision, no powers. Cool. You are just a normal assassin, and so that adds a level of difficulty to the game. Of just now, you don't have to worry like fuck runes, like don't care about those. Like just going in and just being a normal humie.
All right, so we've.
I'm still mad at Sam. By the way,
should be. I betrayed you. All right, so from Shwoom in the chat. Nice thing about the game is that it allows you to play aggressive, passive, or kind of a mix. So how did you play, and what did you enjoy or hate about like that play style? Bryan, it seemed like you played very well. Let's actually start with Kai, because knowing just sort of the games that you play, I felt like you played very aggressively.
Yeah, I think I made a meme of like try to do a stealth run. I'll try to do a pacifist run. Got caught in the first mission. Now it's a murder run. So that is kind of my like my sort of progression through it was like I do enjoy stealth games, but I think the nature of doing this is like, even though a month is a long time, I still like, oh shit, I've got a month, so I just try to get through it as quickly as possible. Which, to be fair, like isn't fair. Like that's just my own, whatever, my own business. But like, yeah. So no, very aggressive. Like I the only time I would try and not be seen was just so I could get a better vantage point to start killing. So like, the gun is like an instant kill for like, so I just would get into a fight and then just shoot, fight a bit, shoot. So very aggressive, murdering a lot of people, accidentally murdering maids apparently, which I didn't think was like, don't know why that's fair, but whatever. That was so very aggressive, very very fast paced, lots of teleportation. Yeah.
Greg, how do you think you played? A little bit aggressive, passive, or kind of a mix? And
I did
you enjoy it?
Chaos run. I did a low chaos run. And so starting off, it was very passive because, you only have like, you got your blink power, and then I invested in dark vision because like you gotta have dark vision if you're going to do any amount of stealth. So for me, a lot of the challenge was like, it was like, okay, I'm sitting here waiting. I've got to like notice this guard's route. The Dishonored does the thing a lot of the times where like, when you first show up, the guards will be doing something weird, like they'll be talking to each other and then they'll go to their patrol. So it's like, it was a lot of guessing of like, okay, are you going to stay here, or is there going to be one person in this room soon? So it was really, really tense. And I did really like it. I did really like it. And then as I got more powers, I got like I prioritized like agility for jumping around and stuff. And then I got like bend time. Which is lets you slow down time and eventually stop time. So up until when I got that point, I was just on like a crescendo of like enjoyment, because it was like I can jump super high, I can zip super far with the blink. I'm confusing all these guys, and then I got like bend time, and I was like, oh, this is exciting. I can use this for like escapes and stuff. But like it's not that powerful because it just slows them down. And then I got stop time, and I realized that I started getting really sloppy. And I kind of didn't have the thrill of like the the stealth runs in my beginning, because it was like, but then it was like, oh god, I'm gonna have to like I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna have to kill some people. How many people do I need to kill? I'm gonna like ruin my run. But here it was like, oh, I'm noticed by like 5 guards. Stop time. I'll run past you guys. Oh, the time stop ran out and there's still 6 guys that see me. A bottle. I stop time again. So it's like, yeah. It unfortunately, playing the way that I played, like it was like really interesting, got really, really fun, and then suddenly it kind of petered out.
You'd have to like self-impose like a handicap just to like kind of get that old feeling back. And like, oh, I need to stop using stop time. It's making the game less fun.
Yeah.
Tony, how do you think you played? A little bit more passive, a little bit more aggressive?
So I try to be like, I didn't openly like go out and like just like mass murder. I tried to be really stealthy because I enjoy stealth. So I was happy to kill people, but I wasn't just like full blown like warfare in the trenches, like in the middle of the fucking, you know, throwing down grenades, and you can throw like the traps that like spin and kill people. Like that wasn't my forte. It was, oh, I'm going to sneak around. I want to get the stealth kills because it's really satisfying. And I enjoyed that. Though my reliance on that dark vision, it like, I was having fun stealthing, but I hated that I was relying on dark vision so much that it was like, feel like it took away from that again. So yeah, I don't know, kind of mixed, I guess.
Bryan,
and it was just easier to just kill people.
Both.
So I started out the game trying to be stealthy and only kill people that are in my way and I had no patience for. And then
Turns out that was everybody.
Then I don't know, like maybe like 2 or 3 missions in, I'm like, you know, I have all of these tools that doing stealth runs, you're just stock full of this inventory the entire time. And I like picking things up. So I'm like, okay. I started investing in Wind Blast, which was a spell that I never touched initially, and I'm like, you blast wind at people. When am I gonna use this? So as I'm like chucking grenades left and right, throwing those spring razor traps, while just dicing people up, you go into a building where there's guards in there and you throw the like max level Wind Blast. It's the most hilarious ragdoll instant death.
Do you love ragdoll
experience? It is amazing. I was just like, I used it once and I was like, oh, this worked out way better than expected. Like, oh my gosh. And yes, I also, I had some spare time, so I would rewire a wall of light, knock some guards out, and then just chuck them into the light. And then another guard will walk by and be like, what? I'll be like, sleep dart, drag them, throw them into the light.
Did you, with rewiring, did you not?
Dart.
Yeah.
I like picking things up, so I had to obviously use some sleep darts sometimes. So,
but for the rewiring, they didn't fucking learn that it had been rewired. So, like, I rewired it and then stood on the other side and was like,
you see the line of people coming in?
Check this out. And then they start running. It's like, oh, the first guy disintegrates. And then I go, okay, the second guy, oh, well, that's weird. I'm not going to disintegrate. And then the third guy goes, oh, those last 2 guys disintegrated. Well, I'm different.
Guards are a special kind of stupid.
And I noticed that at the beginning of the game, and I think it was the Sokolov rescue level where I did the same thing, and the first guard runs through, and then the other guards like suddenly stop, kind of do the weird like awkward stare down, and then they're like, all right, what can I pick up and throw at you? And so they're like trying to throw shit at me, and it just gets disintegrated in the wall of light. So then I'm just standing there like, okay, Wind Blast. Yes.
All right, so like I said, I come from like Thief Gold and like Metal Gear Solid, so like old school stealth games. So I played extremely passively. I wanted to be a ghost, which is why I felt like it was pretty upsetting that like
got that shit.
When you failed, it was
so difficult.
It was fucking hard. It was incredibly fucking hard. I made it through the entire like. Doing that through the entirety of like just the prison escape was just very frustrating. And then at the end, like you place the bomb and they all get like triggered and like everyone like notices you right away immediately. There's nothing you can do to stop. And it's like, well, I guess I'm running now. And it's like, cool, thanks, Gabe. I guess.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you cannot do that stealthily, and you can't fight your way through it. You just have to run.
If there's no one there to hear it.
Exactly. But like, yeah, just getting swarmed by like 17 guys and just like, there he is, we found him. It's like, I guess. So like that didn't help me
for sure,
but I don't think that helped with my enjoyment of the game either. But all right,
Brian is still talking about Sam. Is that our Joseph?
That is Joseph?
That is our Joseph.
That is the Joseph.
Hello, Joseph.
So, what did you all think of the different magic skills that we got? And were there meaningful choices you had to make about which to use in a situation? But thank you for that question, Shwoom. Good question.
Who'd you like to start with?
Who's going?
Let's start with
boss.
Kai, because
yeah, I think I mentioned earlier, but like Blink was my best friend. I don't think I used possession once just to see how it worked, and then just teleporting around most of the time. I don't know if that's just because I'm not like, again, my brain has been ruined by Doom, but just teleportation, fast movement, and then when you can upgrade the distance, and it's like, just go up onto like a roof and then just wait, and then just fire incendiary darts at dogs and overseers and stuff. And it's just like, I just like being able to like dart about and, sprint and all this sort of thing. So yeah, the answer is no. I didn't make any meaningful choices. I just teleported everywhere.
I did the same thing. I picked up Dark Vision, I picked up Blink, and if I had time, I probably would have gotten like Time Stop and used nothing else.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm just going to grab a water bottle from across the room. Be back in 10 seconds.
Let's go clockwise this time. Greg.
So, I think the most meaningful choices are which magic you start off with. Like what you start off with spending your runes on. Because that's going to be like your entire gameplay. Because, I got the Blink. I got the, I guess it's not like a magic power, but it's still like you still spend it with runes, like the agility boosts that like lets you, your base jump be big. And so like between
section at the bottom,
the enhanced section at the bottom. Yeah, the little like the crazy high jump mixed with extended Blink just opens up a whole new world of like verticality and stuff, and that like it felt to me at least that like definitely changed how I approached every single mission, because it was always like get high up. Window, gotta get high. And then like by the end, I had gotten like after I'd gotten my time stuff all the way, like I'd stopped time all the way. I was doing stealth, so I wasn't going to spend it on like any other enhancements. Like I was doing like low cast stealth, so I was like, oh, let me get possession, and I genuinely didn't use it, just because it was like, well, level 1 possession. I can be a rat or an eel sometimes to go into those little vents that I keep on seeing, or I can just take off to the roof. So like, whatever you pick in the beginning is going to really impact, I think, your approach. I think so. It's like a meaningful choice in the beginning.
Understandable. Tony, what do you think about magic?
Yeah, I think I'd kind of parrot what Greg says is like your initial choices is a huge factor into how you're going to play the game, because doing 1 point or one ability into everything, you don't really get the power of it. And that's kind of indicative of a lot of different RPGs, right? Like in Skyrim, like if you only go down one tree, you get a very powerful version of that one ability, but you're missing out on a ton of other things. So I think it really is like your choice really kind of matters in that situation. And but the only powers I ended up really picking, I increased my health, so that was like a few runes at the beginning, and I didn't farm a lot of runes, so I felt like my power choices were pretty limited because I wasn't farming for them. Like it was like, oh, you get 2 out of 5, you get 3 out of 7. Like obviously that's a lot of upgrades I could have done. Yeah, the guards are fucking terrible. Oh, friend died. Very Skyrim, very Bethesda, dumb AI. But yeah, I ended up, I had the Blink and I had Dark Vision and increased health, and that was pretty much my entire playthrough. I liked upgrading the Dark Vision because like, oh, I can see the traps, and that helped me be a little bit more tactical. Like I can see where the that's how I found out which is like in probably won't get to it, but when I turned the turret on them, as I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's sick. And I enjoyed that, but yeah, I got possession, I think, or stop time, and just never used it because I didn't like having to swap out the abilities on my bar. That was probably the most tedious thing, is like, I'm in the middle of combat, let me stop, let me re-equip my gun because I'm out of bullets, or I'm out of crossbow bolts. So I just ended up never like using any other powers because it's too tedious to switch back and forth. I feel like this game really wants you to focus on like 2 powers and then 2 like weapons or like equipments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of shoehorns you into that. I'm used to playing like MMOs where the amount of keys I have is my toolbox. I have a goddamn 12 button mouse. Like, being able to use that would be fun. Or like Diablo, where you have like, you know, a ton of abilities too, and you can like hotkey between them. So yeah, that's, I guess, my answer.
Bryan.
So
I'm not pointing at Bryan on the
I was
stream,
like,
which
wow.
is fun.
Bryan.
So it really a big factor into choosing your powers too is how you want to approach things. Like if you want to be stealth and non-lethal, yeah, your bread and butter is going to be dark vision and blink, because why not? You will never invest in Wind Blast, I can tell you that, because that is the opposite of stealth. And so I halfway through the game I had a more aggressive open play style, so then I invested into Wind Blast and Devouring Swarm, abilities that honestly I wouldn't have touched if I didn't accept just throwing stealth out the window.
If murder wasn't your prerogative.
Right. Well, I mean, but I can still like 3 runes and you can make anyone disappear from death, like almost immediately. So like from the beginning of the game, the blink is so good. Dark vision is almost vital. And if you're going to kill people, like shadow kill, and those are like, you really don't want anything else, because at that point it's not going to really mesh well with your play style.
Gotta kind of pick your build, right?
Yeah. But like Wind Blast is still a viable, great spell in the circumstances, mainly just indoors. Devouring Swarm is a great way of just distracting a bunch of people and listen to their screams down the hall. There's a bunch of, I appreciate the versatility of like the uses of each of these powers. Like possession, I didn't know I can literally possess a guy and have him walk off the cliff and I zip out before he just falls to his death. So but it kind of teeters of left side of the power screen is your stealth and friendly powers, and the right side of the power screen is ultimate destruction.
Yeah.
Do you see me getting frustrated?
Yeah.
It seems like all of us picked Blink, and there's not really any reason not to. I think they kind of forced you to take it just because, like,
they forced you to the first one, right?
Yeah, it's a tutorial ability.
So it's like easy to upgrade. I think
like it is the thing that they give you. So like it's kind of it's mandatory. You're going to be using it a lot.
It's
That's just
so
how
helpful.
It's movement. You can't take away movement. Like it's just good. Thank you, Joe, for the question, and I think that is all. So, Bryan, where can we reach you?
Well, if I get caught for this triple-digit death count crime, prison. You can reach me at Bam It's Bryan. That's my Instagram. I don't have a Twitter, unfortunately, but you can just.
Well, more fortunately, Twitter kind of sucks.
Oh yeah, or at
it's
ECA_RPG.
Mm-hmm. Coming soon.
Yes, coming soon.
I mean, the Twitter exists.
Kai, where can we find you?
You can find me at My Name Is Not Kai, and that's Kai with a C. And you can find my audio drama at Chain of Being, and you can listen to it. Where all good podcasts are found. And you can listen to my sound art at Dinas on Bandcamp, which is DINAS. If you don't like it, I understand. I like it, so there we go.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's fun.
Greg.
Yeah, Greg. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's a Greg Candlestick, which you can see underneath me here. But
Grg.
also Ghost on a Train, which Guy has as the as his Twitter handle. Yeah, run that, edit that. It's pride and joy. It's an actual play, and if you like Dishonored or you learn to enjoy Dishonored or at least the setting, and want to hear a tabletop that's in a setting very inspired by it, where you fellas?
We deep in it. Tony, how about you?
I'm Tony. You can reach me at pretty much any FN related Twitter, Instagram. I run the Super Suits account. I run the normal account. And you can reach me at DiCaro-Smith personally. And yeah, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
Right on. I've been Guy. You can find me at ghost_train on Twitter. You can send us an email at discspacepod@gmail.com, and pretty much nowhere else because I don't want to be found. But thank you all for coming. We have been the Disc Space Cadets, and with that, we are ejecting. Take care, y'all.
Check it out. We've got a nice sign off. Ready? Ready?
Oh, sign off.
Oh,
Hit
shit.
it, hit it,
listen,
hit it with
let's
the
hit it.
Okay,
you
too
have to
late,
listen into the stream. You're not going to be able to hear it. But ready?
Oh, okay, listening.
Okay.
Oh, you want to hear it again?
Yeah, go on.
Thank you for playing. Good night, y'all.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Ta-da.
Thank you for playing.